Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the slumber party. Just hanging out kind of before I go to sleep, and I thought maybe we could check out the stone jars of Laos. I recently saw these in a video I was watching. I'd never heard of them before, so I figured we could look into it. What are the Plain of Jars in Laos? The Plain of Jars is a megalithic archaeological landscape in Laos. It consists of thousands of stone jars scattered around the upland valleys and the lower foothills of the central plain of the Xiang Koang Plateau. Apologize for me butchering that. The jars are arranged in clusters ranging in numbers from 1 to several hundred. The Xiang Koang Plateau is at the northern end of the Annamese Cordillera, the principal mountain range of Indochina. French researcher Madeleine Colani concluded in 1930 that the jars were associated with burial practices. Now that's what they said in the video I was watching too. And it just kind of made me laugh. Like, anytime we find anything, it seems like associated with the past. It's always ritualistic death, burial, human sacrificing type things. They always make it into the most like grotesque things for whatever reason. So these people literally think that these jars, let's see if we can find an aerial view. I know I haven't finished reading it, but these jars were placed here so that you could just put a dead body in there, and then after it decomposes to bones, you bury the bones. That's what they said in the video. Seems rather absurd. But let's finish this. French researcher Madeleine Colani concluded in 1930 that the jars were associated with burial practices. Of course. Excavation by Lao and Japanese archaeologists in the intervening years has supported this interpretation with the discovery of human remains, burial goods, and ceramics around the jars. They supported this interpretation with the discovery of human remains, burial goods, and ceramics around the jars. Okay. Researchers using optically stimulated luminescence determined that the jars were put in place as early as 1240 to 660 BC. The jars at Site 1, using tetraidal zircon geochronology, that's a cool word, we'll have to see what that is, were determined to have been transported to their current location from a presumed quarry 8 kilometers away. The Plain of Jars is one of the most important prehistoric sites in Southeast Asia. Wow. More than 90 jars have been identified. Each site has from 1 to 400 stone jars. The jars vary in height and diameter, between 1 meter to 3 meters, and are all hewn from rock. Their shape is cylindrical, with the bottom always wider than the top. You know what this reminded me of when I first saw like an aerial view? It was like the in the Mario games, how they would go down, the chutes, the tubes. That's literally what it looked like. The stone jars are undecorated, with the exception of a single jar at Site 1. This jar has a human frogman bas relief carved on the exterior. Interesting. Parallels between the frogman and the rock painting at Hushan in Guangxi, China have been drawn. The Chinese paintings, which depict large, full frontal images of humans with arms raised and knees bent, are dated to 500 BC to 200 AD. Since most of the jars have lip rims, it is thought that the jars originally supported lids, although a few stone lids have been recorded. This suggests that the bulk of lids were fashioned from perishable materials. Stone lids with animal carvings have been found at a few sites, such as Ben Fakio, Site 52. The bas relief carvings are thought to depict monkeys, tigers, and frogs. Stone discs have also been found. The discs, which differ from the lids, have at least one flat side and are grave markers which were placed on the surface to cover or mark a burial pit. These grave markers appear more frequently than jars, but are found in close proximity. Similar are stone grave markers. These stones are unworked but have been placed intentionally to mark a grave. I don't know. no part of me thinks these were placed here just to drop bodies in. What do you guys think? Comment below. Let's see, we'll keep reading here, see if we find anything interesting. To the north of Xiangyang is an extensive network of intentionally placed, largely unworked stones marking elaborate burial pits and chambers are known as standing stones. These have been dated to the Bronze Age. The jars lie in clusters on the lower foot slopes and mountain ridges of the hills surrounding the central plateau and upland valleys. Several quarry sites have been recorded, usually close to the jar sites. 5 rock types have been identified: sandstone, granite, conglomerate. Get these corporate a-holes out of here. Just kidding. Limestone and breccia. The majority of the jars are sandstone. It is assumed that Plain of Jars people used iron chisels to manufacture the jars, although no conclusive evidence for this exists. So you have no idea how they made these, but you know what they were made for? That's interesting. Regional differences in jar shape have been noted. While the differences in most cases can be attributed to choice and manipulation of rock source, some differences in form, such as variations in the placement of jar apertures, appear to be unique to specific sites. A cave at Site 1 is a natural limestone formation with an opening to the northwest and 2 man-made holes at the top. These holes are thought to be chimneys for a crematorium. Jesus. A lot of work is put into dead things. French geologist and amateur archaeologist Madeleine Kalani excavated inside the cave in the early 1930s and found material to support a crematorium theory. So instead of just taking something you could burn, just burn in a designated spot somewhere away from buildings and people and things, you're gonna build an underground crematorium out of sandstone, granite, conglomerate, limestone, and breccia. Yeah, that makes sense. French geologist and amateur archaeologist Madeleine Kalani excavated inside the cave. Of course, she found its support. Kalani also recorded and excavated at 12 Plain of Jars sites and published 2 volumes with her findings in 1935. Kalani concluded that the Plain of Jars was an Iron Age burial site. Inside the jars, she found, embedded in black organic soil, colored glass beads, burnt teeth, and bone fragments, sometimes from more than one individual. Around the stone jars, she found human bones, pottery fragments, iron and bronze objects, glass and stone beads, ceramic weights, and charcoal. The bone and teeth inside the jars show signs of cremation, while the burials surrounding the jars yield unburnt secondary burial bones. No further archaeological research was conducted until November 1994, when Professor, it's a cool name, Ijai Nita of Kagoshima University and Lao archaeologists. Where is this? I don't know why, I was just interested. It's Japanese. I feel connected to that place for some reason. And Lao archaeologist Tongsa Sayavongkamdi surveyed and mapped Site 1. Nida claimed that the surrounding burial pits were contemporaneous to the jars, as they had been cut into the surface on which the jars had been placed. Nida believed that the jars were symbolic monuments to mark the surrounding burials. He dated the Plain of Jars to the late 2nd or early 1st millennium BC, based on the burial urn and associated grave goods. Sayavongkamdi undertook surveys and excavations between 94 and 96, supported by the Australian National University. Sayavongkamdi and Peter Bellwood interpreted the stone jars as a central person's primary or secondary burial, surrounded by secondary burials of family members. Archaeological data collected during bomb clearance operations supervised by UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. Yep. Archaeologist Julie van den Berg in 2004 to 2005 and again in 2007 provided similar archaeological results. You don't say. Like Nida, Van den Berg concluded that the jars surrounding burials were contemporaneous. Various in the practices of cremation inside jars and secondary burial outside jars, as noted by Colony, have proven difficult to explain. Interesting. So what you're claiming it is difficult to explain. The cremated remains seem to mainly belong to adolescents. That's weird. While the bomb clearance operations did not involve emptying of jars and thus no additional evidence could be gathered. Van den Berg claimed that the stone jars initially may have been used to distill the dead bodies and that the cremated remains within the jars represent the most recent phase in the plane of jars. The jars with smaller apertures may reflect the diminishing need to place an entire body inside. What the fuck? This is so weird. The suggestion that the jars, similar to traditional Southeast Asian royal mortuary practices, functioned as distilling vessels was put forward by R. Engelhart and P. Rogers in 2001, a contemporary funerary practice followed by Thai, Cambodian, and Laotian royalty. The corpse of the deceased is placed into an urn during the early stages of the funeral rites, at which time the soul of deceased is believed to be undergoing gradual transformation from the earthly to the spiritual world. The ritual decomposition is later followed by cremation and secondary burial. They always, if you bring up like spiritual practices, it psychologically takes people to like just this place of like wonderment where anything goes. Oh, it deals with God? Oh, okay. I don't know anything about that. So yeah, I guess it's whatever you're saying. Yeah. Deals with God and stuff. So not my realm. So anything you say goes. I'm eating it all up. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just, I don't know. Comment below what you guys think. Incidentally, the megalithic Dravidians of South India used giant burial urns called Mudamakal Tazi, burial pots of the old people, or Iema Tazi. These funerary urns were buried with the bodies of the deceased or soon to die in a sitting posture, along with their personal goods and ornaments. This practice was in vogue until 200 AD. The royal burials are across watercourses from the habitation areas in a geographically high, prominent area. Among the black Thai people, the Thai Dam are an ethnic minority predominantly from China, Northwest Vietnam, Laos, Thailand. They are part of the Thai peoples and ethnically similar to the Thai from Thailand, the Lao from Laos, and the Shan from Shan State, Myanmar. Among the black Thai people who have been in the region, or at least since the 11th century, the upper classes are cremated in the belief that it will release their spirits to heaven, while commoners are buried, leaving their spirits to remain on earth. Oh, that's nice. Colony connected the location of the jars sites to ancient trade routes, in particular with the salt trade. She assumed that salt was a commodity sought after by the Plain of Jars people, which brought traders to the Xiangwang Plateau. The Xiangwang area is rich in metallic minerals, mainly due to granite intrusions and associated hydrothermal activity. Two principal iron ore deposits exist in Laos, I'm not sure how to pronounce that properly, both in Xiangwang. The presence and locations of the numerous jar sites in Xiangwang may relate to trading and mining activities. History has shown that Xiangwang, I keep butchering that name probably, but I apologize, at the northern end of the Annamite Range, provides relative easy passage from the north and east to the south and west. Within the geographic setting of the jar sites may reflect a network of intercultural villages, whereby the locations of the jars are associated with long-distance overland routes which connect the Mekong Basin and the Gulf of Tonkin system. The jar sites show superficial regional differences, such as jar form, material, and the number of jars per site, but all share common setting characteristics such as burial practices, elevated locations, and commanding views over the surrounding area. Interesting. The most investigated and visited jar site is close to the town of Fonsavan and is known as Site 1. 7 jar sites have been cleared of unexploded bombs and are open to visitors. Wow. These are currently Sites 1, 2, and 3 and Site 16 near the old capital Zhangguang, Site 23 near the big hot spring in Muangkam, Site 25 in the largely unvisited Paokut district, and Site 52, the largest known jar site to date, with 392 jars near a traditional Hmong village, only accessible by foot. Wow, I want to go there. That's where I want to go. The Hmong people are an ethnic group which mainly lives in southern China, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar. They have been members of the Unrepresented Nations and Peoples Organization since 2007. Let's check these people out real quick. In China, they are classified as a subgroup of the Miao people. During the First and Second Indochina Wars, France and the United States intervened in the Laotian Civil War by recruiting thousands of Hmong people to fight against forces from North and South Vietnam, which were stationed in Laos, in accordance with their mission to support the communist Pathet Lao insurgents. The CIA operation is known as the Secret War. Wow. We are diving deep, just looking at planes of jars. The Laotian Civil War was a civil war in Laos which was waged from 1959 to 1975 between the communist Pathet Lao and the Royal Lao government. From the 23rd of May 1959 to the 2nd of December 1975. It is associated with the Cambodian Civil War and Vietnam War. Let's check some of these people out. A scene depicting the Qing Dynasty's campaign against the Hmong people in 1795. Wow. That's what it looks like today. Check it out. Hmong girls meet possible suitors while playing a ball throwing game. Wow, that's cool. Definitely doesn't work like that in America. That's for sure. Beautiful. A flower among women. A typical rammed earth house building technique. Check it out. It's a market. Must be cold there. Wow, look at this person. She looks blonde-haired. But she's dressed in traditional clothes just like all them. I wonder who that is. Preparing a wedding dress. Imagine that. Imagine if the girls in America had to make their own wedding dress. Oh my god, that'd be so funny. Well, I think that's gonna do it for this video, you guys. I had no idea. Actually, you know what? No, it's not. We're gonna finish just the plane of jars and then check out some pictures. Kind of went on a tangent there. All right. So Lao legends tell of a race of giants who inhabited the area and who were ruled by a king named Kong Xiong, who fought a long and ultimately victorious battle against an enemy. He supposedly created the jars to brew and store huge amounts of Lao Hai alcohol. rice beer, or rice wine to celebrate his victory. Another local story states that the jars were molded from natural materials including clay, sand, sugar, and animal products and a type of stone mix. This led the locals to believe that cave at Site 1 was actually a kiln and that the jars were fired there and are not actually hewn from stone. I doubt it. Present day. Between May 1964 and the summer of 1969, the Plain of Jars were heavily bombed by the U.S. Air Force. Wow. Operating against North Vietnamese and Pathet Lao communist forces. You know, we'll probably dig into it on the channel. Just the complete and utter deletion and removal of a lot just throughout history. A lot of deletion. I don't know what else to call it when you just completely remove something from existence. On a computer we call it delete. So the powers that be have been deleting things. Let's figure out what they've been deleting. But anyways, an estimated 80 million of these did not explode. The USAF dropped more bombs than Laos, primarily the Plain of Jars, and it dropped during the whole World War II. Are you fucking kidding me? So there must be something about here that they wanted to get rid of. This included 262 million anti-personnel cluster bombs. An estimated 80 million of these did not explode and remain a deadly threat to the population. What? The large quantity of unexploded bombs in the area, especially cluster munitions, limits free movement. Evidence of the bombing raids can be seen in the form of broken or displaced jars and bomb craters. Sightseeing on the Plain of Jars can only be done safely on cleared and marked pathways. That's insane. The Mines Advisor Group, a non-governmental organization in collaboration with Who Gives a Fuck and funded by the New Zealand government, cleared unexploded bombs from the 3 most visited sites from July 2004 to July 2005. A second phase of bomb clearance at the sites, also funded by the New Zealand government, was undertaken in 2007. 4 more jar sites were made safe. On the 6th of July in 2019, the Plain of Jars was inscribed as a United Nations Education Something Bullshit World Heritage Site. Wow. Let's check it out. It's gorgeous. Some guy over there. What you doing, buddy? Chilling. Had no idea he'd be taken in that pic. I guess that's where it is. Or I guess there's multiple sites. Yeah, these probably were created in some sort of mixture. This would be my logical guess. I could be completely wrong. I think I found more pictures right here. Yeah, let's check these out. So, zoom in. Well, I'll have to zoom out a little bit so I can go to the next one. Check it out, you guys. You see what I'm saying though? Like in the video game? And apparently that people made these just to stand a dead person in. That's like, seems so just not okay. I wonder what they were made for originally though. Some sort of technology, of course. Maybe they are just jars for giants, water mugs for giants, who knows? We'll explore the giant topic. Not tonight or today on this video, but we will. We'll get into that. Because it's super fascinating. These jars are old though. Oh, check it out. That's the little guy they're talking about. It kind of reminds me of like a Celtic I don't know why Celtic Druid stuff comes to mind. No idea why. Comment below. So yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out with me when I just learn random shit on the internet. I've always loved just stuff, things, the world around us, you know. And over the years of just listening to people like John Levy or Martin or Michelle Gibson, I don't know, they just inspired me to start to share as well. So thanks, you guys. Smash the like button if you like the content. Comment below the place you'd like to go and explore. And subscribe. I'll see you soon. Peace and love.